I'm looking good, I'm feeling good, I'm so fly.
Today is going to be all about training your willpower. And what I mean by that is your willpower to make the right choices when it comes to eating the right foods, doing the right amount of exercise that is actually going to serve you and be beneficial for you. And let me give you a quick little key insight that will help you understand what happens in psychology and with willpower, which is the big key to this, okay? So what I have on here is this big battery, right? So you see this big battery. This is your willpower battery. Now, why am I calling it a battery? The reason why I'm calling it a battery is because what research actually shows and what now tells us about willpower is it's not something that you either have or you don't have. It is something that you can train and something that you can charge up, okay, or have drained. And some people know how to charge their willpower batteries up very well, whether or not they consciously or unconsciously realize it or not, okay? They are having a very charged willpower battery. And so they seem to effortlessly say no to dessert and stay on their diets and build a lifestyle and have all this willpower, while others unconsciously have very low willpower batteries. And they have a more difficult time. They don't really understand why. So along with the mindfulness that we talked about in the last video, this is another key that we can use to charge up our willpower batteries. And let me explain a little bit why, because it's the way you've designed your life that has everything to do with the charge of your willpower battery, which has everything to do with the ability to sustain any program, even one that you actually create for yourself. So that's why we're going over this stuff first, because this is important if you're going to succeed. The willpower battery is really impacted by three other smaller batteries, and that is the emotional battery, okay? And then you have your mental or cognitive battery, and then also your physical battery. And these things all need to be charged up. Otherwise, you're going to have a drain somewhere, okay? So let me give you a typical example of the stressed out woman who loves to work out, is neurotic about right and wrong foods and the right diet, and also has a very demanding job. And because of that, her health is suffering. She can't control her hunger and her cravings. She's unmotivated to go to the gym and train, and she's tired, which is a really interesting thing, right? Because it's not that she's eating the wrong things necessarily. That's not her problem, most likely. It's that she's doing too much exercise, and that's causing her to eat more because of stress, okay? It's causing this imbalance in her life of, this go, go, go mentality. And the very thing that she's doing to try to lose the weight is actually making her more hungry and go nowhere because of it. So the problem is that she is applying all of her energy into this physical battery. And so what she's doing is charging up this physical battery so much by pulling energy from the emotional and the mental battery, okay? So these two get drained, and she's charging this one up so much. And so what they do is they feel a little bit, this woman would feel a little bit depressed. And, they also have their weight and their health suffer from that. And so the idea here is that what we want to do is we don't want too much energy going into any one battery, because what that does is it makes the other two batteries suffer as a result. And then it makes willpower suffer, in the end. And so what you want to be thinking about is you want to think about, where are you draining one of these batteries, okay? One of these three batteries. Are you draining the physical, okay? By doing too much exercise and not enough recovery, or maybe not getting enough sleep? Are you staying up late at night? Are you living off of, caffeine and coffee? Are you eating a poor diet in order to keep your mental function going? Okay, so that would all be sort of the physical thing. It can be done too little or too much, or are you suffering in the emotional category with relationships that aren't fulfilling for you, or a job that doesn't give you meaning and purpose? or, not pouring any time into rest and recovery and your own personal growth? Or are you suffering in the mental category by overtaxing your brain and taking on way too much? That's what you need to sort of understand and rank yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being you're fully charged up, doing great in these batteries, and 1 being you're not charged in these batteries at all. So where are you, okay? Where are you in your emotional state? Are you just on, top of the world and lighting up your life, or are you feeling drained? Are you feeling irritable? Are you feeling depressed or anxious because you're not getting fulfilled here, okay? Because your friendships aren't where you want them to be, or your relationships aren't where you want them to be, and because you're not putting the energy and effort into that area? Are you somebody who is burning the candle at both ends, staying up late at night and working like crazy, trying to learn as much as you can, reading, building projects and stuff like that? Are you so consumed there that it's draining this mental battery and using up the emotional and the physical? Or, what are you in all of these things? So I'll help you understand a little bit about me and what I've gone through and the transition I've gone through, okay? So on the emotional level, I'm probably at about a 5. So I have a lot of room for improvement here. I can improve a lot. I really charge this thing up right now because I'm really charging up the mental right now because I'm working with Fit Addicted Nutrition and things like that. And so this is probably more like at a 9. And then on the physical battery, I used to have it so charged up, that I was about to blow out because I was pulling all of the energy from the emotional and the mental. So I was probably at like a 15 here if we could go above 10. But now I'd say I'm probably right around a 6. So I'm doing pretty good. All right. So again, like I was about a 10 plus here about a year ago. And because of that, I was at a 0 emotionally and then a 0 mentally. That's 1 year ago when I was so addicted and obsessed to training. And as a result, it made my willpower suffer, okay? My stress and my heck was all out of check because I wasn't really spending any time, building relationships and things like that. And I didn't have anything really going on besides training. And so my willpower for, good foods and pastries and stuff like that started to suffer. So what happens is I decided that I needed more time with family and, walking out in nature and spending more time on my business. And as a result, I've been able to pull from my physical and put it towards my emotional and my mental batteries. And as a result, I feel way more balanced and then have a much better willpower or skill power, okay? So there's a lot that goes into this, and we need to find the balance here. And what we tend to do in our culture is we tend to drain a lot of these, right? We tend to neglect this, especially this emotional battery. That's the one I feel like is most neglected, right? And we let stress get the better of us. And we don't spend enough time with loved ones as much as we need to. And we don't spend time with pets. And we don't take time to go to the spa and the sauna to relax. We don't spend time in nature, okay? And so we don't spend time charging up our emotional battery. Or for some people, not really us, but they may neglect their workouts. They eat poorly, or they fuel themselves with poor food quality. And they do all these kinds of things here to, force themselves. And I'm talking about like the typical Western type of person, all right, who's like overworked and overstressed. And so what you want to do is begin to look at your psychological state in each one of these and ask, how am I doing in all 3 areas? And you need to be aware of, what is really happening here. So this is all about the idea of balance, and here's a typical example, actually. So let's say, I'm going to charge up my physical battery, okay? I'm going to go and get in the best shape of my life. So this is actually what happened to me at one point. I'm going to go to the best shape of my life for a fitness competition, right? I competed in physique. And what I had to do is, I put all my effort into this physical battery, right? I've got to eat the right things, follow this plan exactly. I'm going to do this and that and all these things right. And in exchange, I'm going to be pulling from my emotional and my mental battery. And what happens? My work suffered, my relationships suffered at home. And, sure, yeah, I got in amazing shape, like amazing, right? But it wasn't sustainable. I wasn't happy. And, that's just not where you want to be. And it's partly the reason you're going to rebound, which I did very badly. You're going to rebound back. And so you can see that this piece here, this mental, emotional, physical, and sort of, aspect here to willpower is absolutely critical for you to understand, okay? So you need to check in and find balance in your emotional state, as well as your mental state, and then your physical state, okay? And do exactly what is required to get the result, the balanced result. And that's where I want to, sort of help you. So what I want you to do is simply rank yourself, okay? So grab a pen, rank yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. Each of these batteries, find out what is the weakest one and have a situation where you begin to develop a strategy to bolster that, okay? Now, you probably are going to have to go to the strongest battery, which is probably that one, and this is going to be the hardest part that's going to make you a little bit uncomfortable, okay? And, this is something that I had to deal with, and even still, like right now, I'm doing so much on my mental that I know right now I personally need to spare some energy from my mental and pour more into my emotional, okay? So I can go hang out with my boyfriend and go hang out with my family and to hang out with, or to watch funny movies or take a nice walk in the woods, okay? So you've got to figure out where's your strongest one and where, let's figure out how we can pull some energy from that into your weakest one, okay? And, maybe you're stressed out about food. Maybe you can still get a result instead of doing 7 workouts a week. You can get the same result with 3 to 4 days and save some of that energy to charge up the emotional battery and the mental battery, which is exactly what I did, So if you don't, you're going to have your willpower constantly charged up at times, and then at other times you're going to feel in a slump. You're going to have your willpower battery drained. And that's why so many people go through this yo-yo effect constantly, or partly why, okay? So what you want to do after watching this video is understand it's not just about your metabolic difference, right? It's not just about diet and exercise and calories in and calories out and sleep and things like that. It's also about, are you getting your willpower battery in check? Are you getting it charged up? And if not, then this is out of balance. Then there's a problem. And there's one hint that I can give you, which is that the physical battery is probably the most interesting out of the three. As far as being able to charge up the whole battery, the willpower battery. Because when you sleep appropriately, okay, and when you eat appropriately, and you know this, right? And when you get appropriate amount of exercise, when it was just enough, right? It's not too much and it's not too little, because too much is going to drain the battery, okay? Remember, it's going to drain it. And so, when it's charged to the top, it's going to be much more easy to charge the emotional battery and the mental, okay? And so what I want you to do is focus on the physical, but you do not want to go to the extreme here, okay? Because once you go to the extreme as a dieter, which dieters, you and I, we go to the extreme on these things, right? They say things like, no, I'm not going to touch that. I'm not going to touch that food. I can't have that, or I have to get my workout in, right? Or I got to run miles and miles and miles today. I got to do that stuff. And all I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do that. Things are going to start to begin to suffer when you have that kind of obsessive, addictive mentality. So it's all about doing the minimum amount of physical, correctiveness necessary to get the best willpower to create the ultimate life and make your choices easy and ones that are going to serve you.